Olá, TUTAMÉIA está ao vivo, transmitindo diretamente dos nossos estúdios domésticos com a Eleonora.
O Rodolfo.
E a gente vai apresentar para você agora a gravação de uma entrevista que fizemos no início dessa tarde, poucas horas, com um professor de da principal Universidade de Tecnologia do Irã, a Universidade Sharif de Tecnologia, em que ele discute as questões que estão cada vez mais prementes em relação ao Irã, as ameaças de guerra e a situação econômica. Mas vamos contar um pouco mais de quem é esse professor e o que está acontecendo agora em relação ao Irã e as ameaças sempre presentes dos Estados Unidos de atacar aquele país.
Bom, nós conversamos, então, com o professor Mohammad Bazargan, nesse dia 20 de fevereiro de 2026, no momento em que Donald Trump acelera o cerco militar ao país. Hoje estão circundando ali a região da Ásia Ocidental 13 navios de guerra, ao todo se calcula que em torno de 40 mil soldados estão na região, incluindo as bases militares. Os Estados Unidos controlam 19 espaços ali ao redor, né, nessa região, né, são bases, e então os Estados Unidos faz um cerco ao Irã, ameaçando um ataque se o Irã não aceitar, praticamente abandonar o uso da energia nuclear, e faz uma série de exigências que, na verdade, ele pede uma capitulação total do Irã nessa escalada de dominação que, claro, tem como objetivo mais profundo a própria China, né, que tem no Irã, a China e a Rússia, mas especialmente a China, tem no Irã um ponto estratégico, né, de geopolítica para a própria Rota da Seda e para a expansão de negócios. A gente querem, visando deter o poder da China e da Rússia, ele cerca o Irã para tentar mudar a dinâmica que está se formando na economia global.
Ontem, numa entrevista à imprensa, respondendo a uma pergunta se ele estaria pensando num ataque limitado ao Irã, ele afirmou, né, que isso aí era uma ideia que ele estava com a qual ele estava trabalhando, a ideia de um ataque limitado ao Irã para pressionar para essas negociações. No governo iraniano, nas autoridades clericais e nas autoridades políticas, também do Exército, que tem havido comentários nas redes sociais e até declarações oficiais do parte do governo, rejeitam essa ideia, quer dizer, não haverá capitulação por parte do Irã. E esse tipo de negociação que não inclui respeito à soberania do outro, né, no caso do Irã, não é negociação, mas sim exigência de capitulação. Esse também foi o tom aí da entrevista, da avaliação que o professor Bazargan faz ao longo da nossa entrevista. O professor Bazargan foi um dos signatários dos mais de 100 professores, doutores, mestres, especialistas em ciência, em filosofia, que assinaram um documento há pouco mais de 15 dias, não é isso? denunciando as ações agressivas dos Estados Unidos e afirmando o apoio da comunidade acadêmica à Revolução Islâmica, à República Islâmica do Irã. Ao longo da conversa, tratou disso, né? E também da quantidade crescente de arma de equipamento militar, equipamento bélico dos Estados Unidos na região, afirmando que considera praticamente inevitável um ataque dos Estados Unidos ao Irã nos próximos dias, e apontando que, se houver ataque, haverá reação, e essa reação vai ser mais forte do que a que houve na Guerra dos 12 Dias. Ele lembrou na entrevista um fato que em outras entrevistas de acadêmicos iranianos que a gente transmitiu já, que o professor Amir Shaban e o professor Fuad Zad são exemplos, né, que na Guerra dos 12 Dias, até o quarto dia, o Irã não parecia que não estava entendendo o que estava acontecendo, não estava, ficou chocado com aquilo que vinha acontecendo, aqueles ataques, a mortandade que aconteceu nos primeiros bombardeios, mas a partir do quinto dia iniciou-se a reação, e uma semana depois aqueles que atacaram pediram a trégua. Então, ele diz que agora, como também outros especialistas já disseram, o Irã está mais bem preparado para uma eventual reação. Sobre o crescimento o aumento, a ampliação da força naval norte-americana na região, a Eleonora já trouxe alguns números, foi publicado hoje no Teerã Times, um pequeno balanço, né, do material bélico, né, que os Estados Unidos têm na região, com o destaque para os dois porta-aviões, né, o Abraham Lincoln, que é aquele gigantesco que aparece nas fotos, e o Gerald R. Ford, que está navegando para a região. O Abraham Lincoln já está lá, né, e esse outro porta-aviões está a caminho aí do mar da região. Além disso, há 13 navios de guerra e 50 caças, não contando os aviões que são levados, né, as aeronaves que tem nesses dois enormes porta-aviões. Em conjunto, os dois, eles têm mais de 120 aeronaves, caças e outros aviões. E ainda eles têm um séquito, né, a gente pode dizer assim, de navios que acompanham, protegem as grandes embarcações, aí que eles são acompanhados de 10 a 15 destroyers e mais 3 navios de abordagem. Então, no total, só aí, a Eleonora falou dos militares da região, mas só nos navios estima-se que há 13 mil soldados e marinheiros atuam para operar todos esses equipamentos. Na linha, né, essa linha que o nosso entrevistado apontou da reação do Irã contra qualquer tipo de ataque, o líder supremo do Irã, o Ayatollah Khamenei, ele afirmou dias atrás, né, que esses porta-aviões são equipamentos formidáveis, né, ameaçadores, terrivelmente perigosos, né, por seu tamanho, por sua capacidade de ataque. Mas fez a frase que está sendo citada nas redes, na imprensa em geral, né, que mais perigosos que os navios de guerra americanos são as armas que podem afundá-lo, mandá-lo para o fundo do oceano.
Ele comparou, nosso entrevistado, o professor Mohammad Bazargan, comparou esse momento com junho do ano passado, quando houve esse ataque que o Rodolfo estava se referindo, que de início o Irã, enfim, não teve uma reação, não tive uma reação de imediata, até porque estavam ocorrendo negociações naquele momento, e houve a surpresa do ataque no meio das negociações. Há negociações em curso, né, mas Donald Trump parece ser imprevisível, ele faz a negociação, diz que é opção pela diplomacia, mas ao mesmo tempo, né, desloca todo esse poder bélico para a região. Então, hoje o Irã já, digamos, está ressabiado com essa, embora o Trump tenha dado essa janela de 10, 15 dias para chegar em um acordo e tal, não quer dizer que o ataque possa acontecer a qualquer momento. Na imprensa dos Estados Unidos e da Grã-Bretanha surge essa questão de um ataque limitado, cirúrgico, como eles gostam de falar, que nunca é cirúrgico, e também a possibilidade de alvos específicos, né, de pessoas do poder iraniano serem atingidas. Mas há também muita reação, né, tanto dos países da região quanto da própria Grã-Bretanha, que é a tradicional aliada dos Estados Unidos, que está hesitando em ceder as bases, né, que estão no Oceano Índico, perto das Ilhas Maurício, que são bases estratégicas para um eventual ataque dos Estados Unidos ao Irã, e a Grã-Bretanha até agora não deu essa autorização. A Arábia Saudita também já disse que não vai liberar o seu espaço aéreo para as ações contra o Irã. Então, tem uma tensão aí. A gente viu ontem, né, exercícios militares conduzidos pelo Irã e conjuntamente com a Rússia. Aliás, o ministro das Relações Exteriores da Federação Russa, Lavrov, conversou com o ministro das Relações Exteriores do Irã hoje pela manhã. Nesses exercícios, houve o fechamento temporário do Estreito de Hormuz, que se caso, sempre há essa especulação, que caso haja, de fato, uma guerra, o Irã teria a condição de fechar essa passagem, né, do Estreito de Hormuz, por onde trafegam 20 milhões de barris por dia de petróleo, equivalente a 20% do consumo mundial. Então, já há especulações sobre o impacto, né, de um fechamento desse canal, não é um canal, não sei, tem um lugar amplo, para o preço do petróleo. Evidentemente que isso tudo está pesando aí nas decisões, e a gente tratou de todos esses, né, tratou desses assuntos aí com o nosso entrevistado, Mohammad Bazargan, que é professor na Universidade de Tecnologia de Sharif, que fica em Teerã, e que ele é da área de engenharia química e de petróleo. O professor Mohammad Bazargan fez o seu PhD na Universidade de Stanford.
Vamos rodar a entrevista, mas só lembrar ainda mais um trecho, que você falasse aí das idas e vindas de Trump, né? A primeira parte da entrevista, na primeira parte da entrevista, ele faz exatamente uma análise da personalidade de Trump, de como ele funciona politicamente, militarmente, no governo, né? Agindo sob pressão, reagindo a pressões, o tipo de reação, às vezes intempestiva, que chega até a criar comoção entre seus próprios aliados, e até mais que aliados, apoiadores mais próximos, né? Hoje mesmo, né, a Suprema Corte condenou, disse que era ilegal, anulou seus poderes naquela imposição de tarifas genérica, né, para países do mundo todo, de todo mundo, e a reação dele foi de dizer: eu vou fazer tudo a mesma coisa, fazer tudo de outro jeito, a mesma coisa, porém de forma diferente, enfim.
Lembrando...
Não, eu estou dizendo isso, ele não só disse que vai insistir naquilo que foi condenado, como ainda xingou os magistrados da Suprema Corte dos Estados Unidos, chegando ao ponto de dizer que alguns deles poderiam estar atuando sob as ordens de interesses estrangeiros. Não disse que interesses estrangeiros, não disse que... Aquela coisa de ficar sempre nas generalidades, mas atacando a corte que majoritariamente tem apoiado o governo Trump. É uma Suprema Corte conservadora, para dizer o mínimo, se não reacionária, mas nesse caso específico, derrotou o governo Trump por ampla maioria, né? 6-3, né?
E foi uma ação, só para lembrar, foi uma ação movida por empresários dos Estados Unidos que tiveram perdas, né, com a imposição essas tarifas, e que entraram na justiça pedindo ressarcimento pelos seus prejuízos, né, e agora tem que aguardar para ver como isso vai se desdobrar. De qualquer forma, a justiça dos Estados Unidos considera ilegal, né, a imposição dessas tarifas sem passagem pelo Congresso, e isso prejudicou as empresas, isso prejudicou a própria população dos Estados Unidos. A inflação foi afetada e não resultou, né, no que Trump falava de um superávit. Quer dizer, os Estados Unidos tem um déficit comercial, saíram os números ontem, quer dizer, não, foi uma medida que se provou contraproducente, inócua para os objetivos que Trump tentava impor aos países, sem falar dos desgastes políticos, né, que trouxeram, né, frente aos seus próprios aliados, né, que foram encurralados, né, em reuniões para ceder, fazer isso tudo. Vamos ver como é que ele vai lidar com essa decisão da justiça, dobrando a aposta de impor novamente. Mas tem um aspecto no início da entrevista também que eu queria chamar a atenção sobre essa posição, esse jeito Trump de governar. Ele lembrou que em junho do ano passado os Estados Unidos bombardearam os três lugares, né, de energia atômica, das usinas de produção de energia atômica no Irã, e disseram que tinham acabado, né?
Acabado com a energia nuclear.
Acabado, que não tinha mais nada, né? Pessoas dentro do próprio governo, né, levantaram que, olha, não é bem assim e tal, mas o Trump tinha acabado. Agora, perguntado, como você não tinha dito que estava acabando, agora você quer atacar de novo, ele se irrita, não responde, quer dizer, é o jeito do império se movimentar nesse momento.
Então, vamos ouvir agora a palavra entrevista, foi feita em inglês com esse professor da Universidade Sharif de Tecnologia, que, só para dar um contexto aí dessa instituição, ela é considerada o MIT do Irã, é uma universidade que tem atuado, o seu corpo, os estudantes, os professores, os mestres, doutores, têm atuado muito intensamente na ajuda, no trabalho de construção da soberania tecnológica do Irã, desenvolvendo materiais, desenvolvendo produtos, atuando tanto na área bélica quanto na área de pesquisa espacial, pesquisa de materiais, enfim, ele cita, na entrevista, ele fala dessa contribuição da universidade para a soberania do país, né, que era de conseguir se manter ou desenvolver produtos que antes vieram cobrados muito, ou agora com as sanções, o acesso a determinados produtos fica impedido.
Universidade que teve, por muitos dos seus professores, assassinados, né, nos ataques de Israel aos Estados Unidos no decorrer desses últimos anos. Muitos professores foram assassinados e na entrada da universidade
tem um monumento
homenagem a esses professores mortos.
Vamos lá, entrevista.
Mr. Mohammad Bazargan, thank you so much for joining us here in TUTAMÉIA. I would like to ask you about the situation in Iran. Yesterday, President Donald Trump said that he might consider an attack on Iran, giving a kind of window of 10, 15 days. And today, the press in the United States are saying that United States could done a selective attacks. What's your vision about all those threats United States are making, and how do you see the situation now in Iran?
Yes, thank you for having me. Honestly, I think Trump himself doesn't know the answer of this question. I think, when I look back and I put every single evidence together, I come to the conclusion that Trump himself perfectly matches a person that is deciding under pressure. I have few evidences for this that I would like to share with you. During Israel-Iran war, Trump ordered the attack to Iran's nuclear facilities, right? So he was very, very anxious about this, that he emphasized that everything about Iran's nuclear thing is obliterated, right?
Yes.
And whoever would question this would get Trump's anger immediately. And why is he so sensitive? Israelis do this terror that is like very accurate terror that they do. Even they are pretty sure that the person is there, the bomb is active, they are recording this crime that they're doing, they still wait for confirmation of the other side that this target has been eliminated or murdered. But Trump, right after his operation, whatever he calls it, he says, oh, everything's obliterated. And we know some of the facilities of Iran's nuclear are very hard to penetrate, right? Like Fordo is not in a way that with few, even the master of the bombs, you can just say, I bombarded that, it's obliterated. That's ridiculous. And I've watched some of the documentaries about that Trump is not accurate about saying this, but put that aside. But what I'm saying is that he was very, very anxious about it. But imagine the same Trump that he says I obliterated Iran's nuclear facilities, he himself comes after a few months. We have had quiet time for 4 or 5 months. After that, all of a sudden, Trump says Iran should not have nuclear facilities or something. And a reporter asked him, you said you obliterated Iran's nuclear facilities, right? What Iran has to stop, correct? So what caused Trump for the second push for a nuclear deal? Have this first evidence. Second, the fact that Trump, after Iran-Israel fight, Trump was the first day of Iran-Israel fight, Trump was encouraging Israel. say, well, you did good. Those people with big mouth now are in debt and things like that. He was saying these things. But like day 6 or 7, he was praising Iranian missiles. And right after the war, he got the visit of Netanyahu to US. And that was correlated with the second release of Epstein files. If you see the visit of Netanyahu in January was also correlated with the third release of the files. To me, anytime Netanyahu goes to the US, something new is coming up. And this is well correlated with Trump's changing direction. Third things, Epstein files have been published, and the Justice Department says nothing is left, correct? If Trump knew about this, if his team knew about apparently the outcome doesn't hurt Trump at all. Why was he so nervous about it that he even basically start fighting with his own allies in MAGA movement, right? To me, there is something fishy about this. And if you look back, when you put things together, it shows that Trump is under pressure. He himself doesn't know what he does. So what you asked, what he is trying to do, I think he was under pressure again by Israelis that he goes attack Iran. And he made a deal with Netanyahu, something like about that. I would go after the nuclear facilities through negotiation and force. I will make them to bow toward me, and they just say, okay, we will not enrich uranium anymore. We'll just limit our ballistic missile activities and things like that. But what happened was that he tried the same scenario he used for Venezuela or in Greenland, for Denmark. He sent like almost 1/3 of US troops toward the Middle East. But the answer he got from Iran, what shocked him. That's why he called Iranian bad negotiators. What did he get? Iranians said, you want to fight? Okay, let's get a fight, and let's fight. If you want a peace, we can negotiate. If you want to fight, we can fight. And honestly, from Iran, I see this atmosphere clearly. I think God somehow prepared Iranian to reach this spirit. In the past 2 years, we saw the kids and women slaughtered by Israelis, and we could not do anything. We're just watching with a high blood pressure situation. We were just watching, could not do anything. We knew that if we attack Israel, then some people with Iran say, oh, it was something between two other countries, you intervened and things like that. So I personally believe that the reason that these things happened is that we initially had to be active and stop this genocide. It doesn't matter is inside Iran or outside Iran, right? Iran, we had to be able to work better with, in terms of like public opinion of the people, to prepare them that if we don't fight Israel now, we will fight it later. It's better we fight all together at the same time. But now I see the spirit in Iran. Iranian has looked the situation in Libya, Syria, Iraq. So they say that, the options are these two: negotiation plus war. Second option, just war. So why do we? So there's two options: negotiation plus war. Second is war. So what I predict based on these facts is that Trump cannot get away with this pressure. If he could, he would do it before. He would have done it before. So to me, Trump will do something according to this direction that he's taking, and he has taken for the past few months. And what he said today, I promise that I was predicting that he saw that, okay, maybe Iranians don't think that US would attack Iran. Maybe I start hitting somewhere in Iran, so show them that I'm serious about this. But this is also wrong. Why it's wrong? Because he's hoping that he cause a crack in the enemy's troops by saying that, oh, he hit, and some of the, like, for example, like, I don't know, like weaker politician in the country would just say, oh, you know, our facilities are going to be ruined, and let's negotiate and things like that. There might be some people, actually, I can predict there might be some politicians in Iran that will go this direction, but the majority of Islamic Republic officials, I can tell that they're ready for the war. We know that this war is costly, but you know, it's magically, I think this is God's destiny for us. I see some people are okay. They're talking about the war very like normally. 2 years ago, if you were talking about this in Iran, people would be like thinking that you're crazy. But now people say, oh yeah, what's going to happen? Oh, we are going to pay a heavy price. But we are focused now to just like impose the biggest damage to the enemy in a way that this sequence of sanction war is finished. So they now thinking is that if you want to live poor and humiliated, this is we prefer to fight and become martyred. I see this in Iran, and compare this with the way that Americans are coming to this war, unjustified war, with a president that under pressure of Israelis are coming to this war. So to me, the spirit is deciding about the war. I think the spirit of Iran in this thing is in this war is in a way that US had to be scared of it. And I think Trump will basically try what he's saying. I would think that he would try to by a limited strike, because that's the only option I think he has right now. Mm-hmm. He would do limited strike to see if he can make a crack in enemy's army. He might get a crack, but I think the bigger crack is when Iran start responding to Trump, and all of a sudden politicians will see that, oh, a real huge war, it's about to happen or it has happened. So then you will see the crack in Americans politician, which already you see that some senators and some congressmen, Rouhani and some others are saying that Trump's Warren and some others are saying that the war against Iran are illegal. So yes, I think Trump has no other option than one more step toward threatening Iran. Probably he would do some limited strike to see if he could cause a crack in Iran's politicians like system or not.
Okay, but limited strike or full throttle, there will be a reaction from Iran.
I think they would engineer that in a way that is not huge strike, right? In a way that Iran would somehow respond, and he would think that probably he can control it at a limited level. But again, this is contradicting the initial purpose of this, that he has to make a strike that in a way that it doesn't make a full conflict, but Iran will no way not answering. So if any strike they hit Iran would answer, for sure. I can tell you, for sure. And maybe they would try to tell Iranian, okay, if you hit this, if we hit these places, you would hit these places. And then what happened? Again, you have locked yourself. I think Trump is in a big dead end street. And I don't see any way that he can get out of this situation easily.
Comparing with the situation last year, the so-called 12 days war, how can you describe the situation in Iran comparing to that days in last year, and especially talking about the support Iran has received from Russia and China? What's the difference between this situation right now and the situation in June last year?
You know, what I think is that Iran would never think that we will engage in a direct conflict with Israel or America. We're just trying to basically control the Israelis' aggression through our proxies. Honestly, through our proxies, we're just trying not to let Israeli aggression goes beyond control. But what happened in the Israeli fight that we had, Iran was heavily tested. So if you see like in the history of the 12-day war, the first few days, we were kind of in a way that we were just trying to organize our system.
Mm-hmm.
But after the 4th or 5th day of the war, it was obvious that Iran has the upper hand. And you know, the military people in Iran are specialists. They are young generation. They are very advanced. They are well educated. They find a way. You know, the worst thing for them is that now for Israelis is that they have used their full force once, and now we perfectly know what are the areas that we have to work on. And Iran has heavily, in the past few months, have been working on it. From the first day of Iran-Israel war, we would just think that this war would continue. So Iran has like a short-term plan, mid-term plan, and long-term plan of like advancing its capabilities. And you mentioned about like purchasing military facilities from different countries. I think more important than facilities that we are buying is the mind of the military people, that they exactly know the possibilities that they could face during a real war. And I think Israelis did not care much about like using all the force that and weapons that Americans have given them. So I think they have lost so much of this secret of the war during this 12-day war. And Iran has worked on it. I bet the war, definitely the war would be a fierce war, but I think the second time you see that Iran will fight more efficient. The example I want to give is that, you know, Iran had, before Iran-Israel war, we had 3 waves of strike against Israel. One after Israel attacked Iran's consul in Syria. So we call it Vade Sadegh, the first Iran's strike to Israel. The second time was after Ismail Hania's assassination and Hassan Nasrallah's assassination by Israeli army. We call it the second. And the third one was the Iran-Israel war. Compare the success of Iran's ballistic missiles in these 3 wars. You see that the minds of the people are working behind this, and every single time we got better. So I think in this sense, we know that the other side also are working hard to improve their defense system, but in this side, Iranian also working basically days and nights to make the attack more efficient. I think this has learned, Iran has learned real lessons from a year and a half ago.
And what about the political scene? Say a year from now, there was kind of people that was in opposition from the government. I mean, the elites that they wanted negotiation with the United States and things like that. This changed after the 12-day war, and how are things now?
Yeah, that's the thing. Again, goes back to the first point I mentioned. You know, there are some people that are, I will call them weak politicians, that exist in different political parties. But the people that prefer negotiation, I would like to, for example, mention the name, a person, his name is Leilaz. Leilaz is a reformist, but I actually very much benefit from his point of views, although we have different political views. But, you know, a person like him, if you go back in the past few years, he has been a person that would support any solution that we avoid this war. But he's the person now talking, he's saying that under no condition Iran has to give up its nuclear activity, because he says that's exactly the process. You say, okay, we give up our nuclear activities, so the next step is war. So the same thing I said. I think they clearly understood what U.S. meant by negotiation. Not a negotiation. It's basically like disarmament. It is a disarmament. So, like, why U.S. is pushing for Iran not having ballistic missiles range more than 300 kilometers? Does it protect U.S. troops? No. Well, even with 300 kilometers of ballistic missiles, most of the U.S. bases in the region would be under Iran's attack. But it does protect Israelis. This is not the American condition. This is Israeli condition. You know, Israelis are pushing Trump to set conditions that make it pave the way for the next round of the war. If Israelis attack Iran, Iran is not able to respond with the ballistic missiles. That's the whole story. Forget about the detail. The whole story is that Israel is sacrificing Trump for this purpose. They know that soon there will be another Israel-Iran war, and they just want U.S. pave the way for them to be able to win that war. But I don't think U.S. would be able to do so. And I think the atmosphere now is very different, very, very different from 1 year and a half. I don't deny that there are people that are saying under any condition we have to avoid a war, but I think these people are now in minority, in the political system of Iran. Even reformists. Have you seen the president? President is from a Republican.
Yeah.
You know, to me, I myself voted for Jalili's in the last election because of the president's comment about negotiation and thing. I would not imagine that he step by step comes to the understanding that, you know, there's no other way. It's war or negotiation plus war. I think he has got this point that negotiation is not real. Trump is not negotiating to get a peace deal. He's negotiating to pave the way for Israelis' war. And I think they perfectly understand that. Iran under no condition will give up this. Yes, maybe they say, okay, you don't enrich uranium for 60%. Iran said, okay, for what? Trump is saying that if you don't enrich for 60%, that's exactly what happened the first round. If you don't enrich for 60%, we don't attack Iran. So, wow, what a good deal. So then attack. So Iran is expecting the sanction relief, a benefit, real benefit, from giving up its nuclear enrichment. That's the deal Iran is looking for, or war, or the war is alternative. And there are some politicians. I would ask you to see what Teerã Parsi, Teerã Parsi is he just makes some comments. I see, maybe last week, he made a comment that was very true. I think there are some senior Iranian politicians are thinking that although the next war is very costly, but the damage would be less than expecting years of sanction than bear with this current situation. You know, they're trying to suffocate Iran's economy in every possible way. So they're saying maybe a war has less damage compared to that, again, few years of sanction and humiliation in this sense. So I think even some reformists that are patriotic. There are some reformists that are not patriotic. Those people who are patriotic, they understand that, okay, the U.S. is imperial, the force and things like that. They are just thinking about the fact that we don't want war, but maybe that's the last solution.
How about the influence of the consequences of the protest that we saw 4 days ago? What the sense, the feeling in the society about this protest now? It's the cohesion, the union of the society is more or less than before those protests.
Yes. So I actually want you please look at the article in ProRepublica's website by Yossi Melman. And this was actually referred to also in Washington Post. But what I'm saying is that this article is for August 2025. In detail, explains that how Israelis have trained dissident Iranians for basically terrorist activities in Iran. And the fact that 1,300 core of these basically units have been formed in Iran. In 18th of day at 8 o'clock, there was a war operation in Iran. The leader said it was a coup. It was really a coup, you know. But the idea was interesting. The idea was that, you know, if you don't have a protest in Iran, you can't run this. They were expecting in the Iran-Israel war. I'm not sure if you were following that Israelis officials comment in the Iran-Israeli war. I remember one of them was saying that, I had to search the name, who he was. He was saying that for this weekend, basically day 6 or 7 of war, we have a surprise for Iran that pager operation is nothing compared to it. But it didn't work. There was nothing that weekend that special happened. I think these units were ready before Iran's Israeli war. What they wanted to do is that while they're attacking Iran, these units from inside the country operates, attack the bases, capture the bases, and basically topple the government. That was the operation. But the second part didn't happen because it was not working when the people are not in the street. So the idea that they worked on was that they make, for any reason, that they make a protest. The protest happened in Bazaar in a way that all of a sudden the price of the dollar changed like 30% up. And the people in the Bazaar were saying that this is like ridiculous. They came for the protest. They came for the protest. For about 2 weeks, we had the protest. Very peaceful protest. Nothing was happening. That Thursday night, all of a sudden, at 8 o'clock, things became, after Pahlavi was asking his supporter to come, which things become brutal. There are dozens of videos on internet that you see that there are shots fired from the protesters, not protesters, people inside the protesters' circles, to military bases. Some of the military bases have been attacked. You know, a person was saying, my house is here for the past 30 years. I didn't know that this building is a security building full of weapons. But that protest went, and they climbed up that building was recognized by these educated people, trained people, I would say, and it was attacked. So we have to confess that Israelis did the operation in Iran, and it caused a huge damage. So I personally regret that we were not as careful, but this has caused a damage. I would think that if US attacks Iran, we would expect some attack from also inside. But I imagine that this is the difference, that I would imagine that the war, Iran-Israel war, and now the war Iran-US war would have, is that we have to face the enemy from outside and inside. That makes it harder, but I'm pretty sure Iran would be the winner. And I can talk about it later, that why I'm thinking like this, but that makes it even harder because the damage has been caused. You know, people have been killed in the street. About 3,000 people have been killed. That some of them were security forces, some of them were peaceful protesters, some of them were the people that had nothing to do with the protest. They were just passing. You know, we Iranian, we don't see this condition normal. you know, at that night I was driving home, and I was just driving, and I was just saying that I don't feel safe in the street. And that was the first time in the past 40 years, probably, I feel this way. And the street, I would say, bullet might go from everywhere to hit me, right? And that was not a condition that we should have faced. That, to me, Israelis were able to do this, but I'm sure that they will pay the price.
Mm-hmm. And say some 40 days have passed since the first shocks during this protest, and now there are the ceremonies. I don't know if I can pronounce it. It's Teerã.
Tehelom is like.
Yeah, and what's happening now? I mean, the people it's the end of the mourning period. What's happening now? And because the mainstream media, the Western media, is saying that there are new protests at this time. In the ceremonies, that the mourning ceremonies are transforming into protest ceremonies.
No. Let me explain this. You know, in Iranian religious culture, so when someone passes away, so you have one ceremony for his burial, one ceremony at the day 7, and one important ceremony at the day 40, right? Mm-hmm. After 40 is basically death. So this week I was in Mashhad, and in Imam Reza's shrine, it was the ceremony for the Chehelom, or 40 days off. Those people have been killed in this protest by Iranian government, and the president surprisingly showed up in the ceremony in Mashhad that was held by Iranian government. The reason Iran is also, I'm not denying that there are some ceremonies that are basically hope for basically trying to start a new protest, but it didn't happen. It didn't happen at all. The spirit is not like that. The condition in Iran is not like, yeah, maybe in this like people, the families of the person say some words at his grave, but it's not a protest, something like that. You know, the leader divided the people who have been killed in this incident as 3 groups, apart from those security forces, that about 200 security forces that have been martyred in these things. There are 3 groups, he said. The first group were those terrorists that were shooting and they were beheading the officers and things like that. Forget about them. The second group were the protesters that actually the protesters may even wanted toppling the Islamic Republic, but they were peaceful protesters. The third group was the people that had nothing to do with this protest. They were just passing in the street, and a bullet comes from any side. He said from any side it comes, and they were killed. He called the second and third group martyrs. The third group, he said, because they were killed innocent and in a way that they were like basically it was caused by Israelis' condition. But the second group, that were even the protesters that they were even like aiming to topple Islamic Republic, but they were peaceful protesters. But they were misused by Israeli operation as a river that we can float on, and so they got damaged in this things. That was actually basically a suicidal operation, in the sense that these peaceful protesters have been killed. And to me, the society is sort of absorbing this. You know, there are some people that are seeing that, okay, we don't agree with Islamic Republic, but we don't also approve the operation was done by these brutal terrorist groups. And obviously they were not the majority of the protesters. No, not at all. Maybe not even 1% of the protesters. But look, 1,300 groups that have been organized. A group was made of to 5 to 10 people. You can say about like 6,000 to 13,000 individuals who have been trained by Israeli security forces. And I think they are not all arrested. I think if US attacks Iran, they will be active again. Now they're silent, and these US had to act more quickly because Iranian intelligence are going one by one after these teams, and if US does not attack in 5-6 months, they're basically gone. Still, like getting recognized one by one. And I think if they don't act quickly, what they have cultivated in Iran would vanish.
And what about the international support for the United States and Iran? Just today, the Minister of Foreign Relations of Russia, Sergei Lavrov, talked with the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Iran, Abbas Araki, and we saw China talking more about the support to Iran. In the other hand, we just saw United Kingdom hesitate to liberate the military bases on near the Maldives to allow the military from the United States to attack Iran. Saudi Arabia also said that the country will not allow the planes to go to Iran. We can say that today Iran has gathered more support internationally than the United States, or it's too soon to say so. We just saw European Union considering the military on Iran terrorist organization. What can you say about the support to the United States and Israel and to Iran at this point?
Yeah, very good point. First of all, we appreciate any support from any government in the world, any individuals. The fact that you also this effort for interviewing, I appreciate it a lot. And this is like something that the leader, I personally participated in this program because what we call Jihad al-Tabyin, to explain for the free people of the world what's going on. Part of this war is the war inside the minds of the people. The American people, when they come to Iran, they see Iranian people, they're kind, logical, caring people. They would just be shocked that the image they've got from Iranian and the image that this Hollywood or the Epstein friends have created from Iranian minds of the people. It's not a correct image. And whatever effort, I mean, more than weapon that's sent to Iran is the effort to clear the situation for the free people in the world to decide what is truth and what is the shaitan or satanic activities in the world. And I think this is something that people have to see. I think I appreciate even this more than the sending troops or anything like that. Iran, if all the countries in the world support Iran, if no one supports Iran, Iran would stand against this injustice and this oppression, this great Satan. But if we are successful, which I pray it is the case, we will hold the hands of all our allies. But if we fail, at least we are happy that we become martyred in a correct way. So maybe your children or the children of the children will remember us that it was just one country in this world that didn't smile back in Donald Trump saying, okay, you can continue with your satanic actions. But what you say is correct. Trump has done enough damage to the United States that I don't know if I want to ask him that he he's not the president of the United States anymore, because he's doing perfect damage to the United States. He has separated all the allies of United States. Even UK doesn't allow US to use this base, or Saudi Arabia is afraid of the consequence of letting US using its airspace against Iran. We understand this, and after this war, we would definitely appreciate in any way possible this help of the countries in the world. But what I want to say is that what is deciding the result of this war is how courageous and what the spirit you have. You know, to me, in Shia culture, you know Mark Rubio. Mark Rubio is basically a crusader. Mark Rubio, whatever he tries to like mimic like a real foreign minister of a country, he's like a very religious person that acts based on this Zionist ideology. And they think, you know, what you have to see, what's the background of Israel's aggression. You know, this thing that I know the family of, when I was in the US, I was telling the some Americans this story, and some of them were even Christians. They looked at Muslim as evil, but they're just saying, no, this is not the case. Let me explain for you. You know, Christians and I think this is somehow related to the question you asked, because people of the world, a lot of these countries, the majority of the people are Christians. They believe in Jesus, peace be upon him. So, and they're waiting for resurrection of Jesus. But you know what's happening is that you have to know what's the difference between Judaism and Christians. Christians believe in Jesus, and they're waiting for the resurrection of the Jesus, correct? But Jewish people, they denied when the first appearance of the Jesus. They're still waiting for Messiah. They think for one of the conditions for Messiah to come is that they form a Jewish government in Jerusalem. That's one of the conditions. They sacrifice a red cow under this. There are some conditions. And they think that when they form such a government, God would send Jesus, Messiah for them, and then they become king of the world. And the end is they become king of the world. It's not. The ideology is that we are the best people in the world, that everyone else is a second class. You know, this is the question I was asking. If two French mountaineers are lost in France, it will be their first head news of the Guardian, right? But in the Israeli-Iran war, a single Israeli bomb, which I still cannot see the picture without crying, is that a single Israeli bomb flattens a 12-story building in Iran that 72 women and children have been slaughtered. And we are not able to even say, why did you do that? Okay, you have imagined that there's a terrorist inside this 72 building. Is it justified that we basically, because of Netanyahu, we attack the whole area that he's basically might be there, and all the like innocent people we killed? But they're doing that because the background of their minds, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The life of American, the life of Jewish, the life of French, the life of British matters. The life of Iranian, Syrian, Iraqis does not matter. Kill as much as you can. It doesn't matter. God will not take you accountable, would make you accountable for that. You know, this is the mindset they have. But there is one thing that they think, and I think this is the point. They know that according to their prophecies and things like that, when they try to form the Israeli government in Jerusalem, Antichrist, they call it Antichrist, will create its own government in Iran. And if they have to topple this government before it becomes 40 years old. It becomes 40 years old, they have to face it in a real war. And they know even themselves that the winner of this war is Iran. According to their prophecies, the winner, they call the first winner of this war is Iran. And then God sent the Jesus to help them, sent Jesus to help them, and then they will conquer conquer Iranian. This is exactly reverse of what's going to happen. And we have, according to our Shias, Islamic literature, that's exactly reverse. Exactly reverse. You know what we have is that when Israelis formed this government in Israel, in Jerusalem, they make a situation in the world that every free person will suffer. Everyone is asking for a force from God to basically fight with Israelis and eliminate them. And Iranian are the one that would be, God would choose to do this job. And Iranian will do the first time this job and basically fight Israelis. And even in their prophecies and our prophecies, Iranian will be the one that enter Jerusalem and conquer Israelis. They have this in there. They have even that Iranian will come as an eagle from the sky, and they refer to Iranian as mud in their or ilam in their literatures. They know these things, but we are not acting on. This is funny that we are not acting based on our prophecies, because we don't know the prophecies are talking about this time or 1,000 years from now. We are not. Our politician is not based on. Our politics is not based on prophecies, but real politics of Netanyahu and these people are based on the prophecies they have. You know, Netanyahu has this relation with this crazy rabbi that is like Menachem Medlen, that's a warmonger. He's basically asking Netanyahu desperately, where is Messiah? You were supposed to basically hasten his appearance and things like that. So they are really expecting Netanyahu to bring Messiah. You know, we know Messiah, we know Jesus as a prophet of peace and love and caring. So you want to bring Jesus with killing of women and children? Who is standing in the correct side of this history? To me, like, is Satan that is like deceiving them. They are the soldier of Satan. You can see the signs that God sends us. You see the Epstein. Americans, I know some American family, they're shocked. They never thought their politicians are as corrupt. They never expected that their politicians. They thought their politicians are like real servant of the Jesus and things like that. See what happens. They sacrifice babies. They eat the bodies of the babies. And, you know, I want to mention this here also. This Epstein story is not finished. This is not finished. Because anyone that has been in a close circle of Epstein has done these crimes. Trump is, if he's not the closest, is one of the closest to Epstein. And I think he somehow, I'm not surprised that there are videos of him that has not been released yet. As you see, Hillary Clinton has mentioned that the Justice Department has not released all the files. So I'm thinking that God's plan is working, and we have to just do our duty.
Well, and let's talk about the duty of the professors and the academic people in Iran. How are their minds? Are they supporting government? We are like 1 month from now, 1 month ago, we streamed, we divulged here a letter, a message that was signed by more than 100 professors from Teerã University. So, what is the academic world in Iran thinking about what's going on? And is it supportive of the government?
Yes, of course. You know, academic in Iran, a lot of them have been educated from top universities in the world. They are aware of the situation in the world. And, you know, they have left they had opportunities in the countries like US, Canada, UK, France, Germany, Switzerland, Japan. They've come to Iran to serve the truth. And when we ask for this letter to be signed and basically condemns US intention for aggression to Iran, I was surprised that professors from different political views unanimously and unitedly signed this letter. This is like shows, and that's actually a reflection of the spirit in Iran, as I mentioned before. So they from different political views are saying that what US is doing is not justified. And that's exactly the point that I think US politicians are not understanding. Next week, the universities are going to open again in Iran. And I think this has an effect because the students see that the majority of professors are condemning what Western media are trying to show as a legitimate action by US government. No, these professors are educated, are smart, are very well-aware people, but they're saying that this US aggression is totally unjustified. And this imperialism will result in nothing but catastrophe. Yes.
Well, okay. And you said before about the effects of the economical sanctions. How are they affecting everyday life? I mean, what do you lack, for instance, in your life? What are its effects?
You know, the US classical way of toppling the enemies is that, you know, in any government, there is like some portion of the people that pro-government, but there are like gray supporter of the government that their life works easily. They're supporting government, but if they're under sanction, any single problem, any single like corruption will hurt them in the worst possible way. Corruption exists in every different governments in the world. No country can claim that there's no corruption in our politicians. This is like the nature of the people and the justice system. Sometimes the justice system becomes corrupted itself. And I've written 2 articles about democracy and how the governments would work. And I came to the conclusion is absolutely there's no way that you can assure that there's no corruption in any political system. But this is the important thing, is that when people see it, they think that, okay, we are under pressure and they are enjoying their life themselves. And this has been the plan of the US to make this gray percentage of the people become unhappy with the condition. This is one side of the story that you're asking. The one side is that the sanction, if someone says sanction does not have effect, it is not correct. Actually, most of the pressure from Iran is from sanction. And the sanction is in a way that Obama created this contagious sanction and actually resulted from our negotiation JCPOA, which I was one of the people who disagreed with that. And it was funny that that this agreement had a lot of basic flaw that unfortunately they hid it from us. But anyway, so this contagious sanction is in a way that, like, even, for example, China, when they deal with Iran, the company Chinese would get sanctioned. So the Iran sanction, I think, is the worst sanction in the history of humankind. If someone, we people of the world are from the time God has created us, have been living together. You know, some country has more, I don't know, this salt, when I say about Japan, that they were importing salt from China or something like that. So they have abundance of one material and they're like importing other materials. And this is how God has created the world. It's impossible someone says, my country does not need anyone in the world in any sense. As soon as you cut the relation with other countries, that's how the system is created, of the system of life. You can't just separate yourself from other people. When someone comes, put this sanction around you, definitely you suffer. And if this sanction is released, the economy will increase. But that's dark side of the area, dark side of the story. But there is one like our seventh Imam has saying that I really like it. Imam Kazim alayhi salam, he says that there is no situation as basically bad situation, we call it bala in Farsi, that God sends you that is not covered with the ring of mercy. And I see this sanction that US has imposed to us as a hardship. No one can deny this. But I see the ring of mercy of God that has created around this. And I know in the past 12 years, I can see from many, many different materials, that technical materials, for example, Iran's oil industry, there have been some devices, apparatus, and things that we have been purely importing 12 years ago. I can name endless number of materials and devices and apparatus and things like that. And I can tell you one device that the price in the free market is $200,000. But one international company wanted to sell this device about 12 years ago to Iran's oil company for $2 million, as 10 times, yes. So at Sharif University, a master student that I know, he created his own startup, and they did the research from scratch. So the good thing is that we are in the world of internet and free information and things like that. So they read the articles, they worked a lot. 7 years ago, 5 years after this, they created the first device of this, the same quality. They were able to match the quality of the device with the international standard. And this company now is exporting this device to the neighboring countries. Sorry.
Okay. Hello?
Sorry.
Hello?
I'm sorry, someone is calling me. I'm using my phone for this interview. Do you have my voice?
Yes. Yeah, that's okay.
Sorry, someone has been calling me. So I'm using my phone for this interview. So, this student that now he's a doctor, or he's a CEO of a company, that he was telling me as a joke that I feel bad because anytime that the price of dollar goes up compared to Iran's currency, our company is doing better. Is it bad because everyone gets upset, but our company benefits from it? There's two sides, and I know that if I don't say thousands of these companies have been created in the past decade, and it actually has effect in our military equipments also. A lot of these military equipments that you see in Iran in the past decade were just a pure importer. But now I see that there is different companies that are competing at selling to the government. And I see this is the ring of the mercy. I hope that I answered your question in the best way.
Iran and Brazil are together in BRICS. What's the whole of the BRICS in this situation?
BRICS is under pressure again from Trump because the idea they have is that to limit the influence of dollar, and that's the biggest threat for the US. I think the fact that Brazil is in BRICS is the biggest threat for Brazil. And Brazil, as a resourceful country, during my education in France, UK, and US, I've had colleagues from Brazil, and without exception, all of them have been nice, talented, sometimes genius people, hardworking, and I somehow think that Iranian and Brazilian have a lot in common, and I've actually in somehow I think we are able to compare ourselves together. But one of the things that U.S. does not want Brazil to be successful is that the BRICS work in a way that it's designed to, which is limiting the power of the dollar. And I think if you've seen that Trump has been back and forth threatening by countries in BRICS with tariffs, and he's trying to make the BRICS fall apart. But I think BRICS is more powerful than this happens, but I'm expecting Brazilian, in this sense, would be suffer a little bit. But this the future is good for BRICS. I think the BRICS is the future of the world.
It shows a path to a non-imperial world. You'd say so.
Yes, I think so. Yeah, I think, but I have to say this in a way that you probably don't expect. We all have this capability to become imperial power if we forget about our values, moral, and think. So, this is funny that I'm more worried about the fact that we become another US. Because this is humankind. If you become powerful, like powerful country, if you're not careful, if you're not the true worshiper of God, and you're not considering basically these as a sin, the world is suffering. It doesn't matter if it's US or China or Russia or something. Look back at the history of the people. At any time, there have been one superpower that has been brutal to the other countries. So I think as much as that we are caring about not facing the imperial of our time right now, is that we have to care we don't become the next imperial force.
And how to do so?
I think through God, through the God. We have to, and that's the thing in Iran and Shiism. So we are waiting for Imam Mahdi. We just think that the real government. I have had 2 articles about the government. I don't believe in democracy. There's no democracy. I can prove this logically. I did this mathematically. I wrote these 2 articles, and I don't think many people understood the depth of it. But there's no democracy. You see, in the US, people are talking about deep state. I can show that there's no direct democracy unless there's chaos in the country. Then you might ask, okay, if there's no real democracy, so is real dictatorship? I say yes. Yes, otherwise there's a chaos between these two. What I'm saying is that God has chosen people, that prophets, imams, that are supposed to lead the nations in a way that justice and the peace would be spread in the world. And the best way we can seeking peace and justice is that to listen to them and follow them. Jesus, the prophet of peace and justice, but at his time, people went to kill him. Why? Because he was the biggest anti-imperial force at his time. He was the biggest anti-imperial force at his time. I'm sure that for second resurrection of the Jesus, which I'm hoping that we all see that, and I'm hoping that this is very close, and I'm sure it is close, that we're all the follower of the Jesus. We're all. This is, maybe you don't know, but we believe that Jesus will come with Imam Mahdi, and we all follow them. This is what we have in our prophecies, and I think Zionists are correct about the fact that God would send Jesus, but I'm not on their side. I'm not sure if you're familiar with their prophecies or not, but the prophecies that they have is ironically exactly the same as our prophecy, but in a different direction. So they think that Iranian with Imam Mahdi will come to conquer Israel, but what happens is that they call Imam Mahdi Antichrist, right? And what God will send Jesus, and will make a peace between two sides. And at that time, Israelis have the support of some Christian-led countries, because a lot of Christians at that time are misguided in a way that they think that Islam is the evil force. But when the Jesus makes the peace, he would join Imam Mahdi and for leading the Muslims, and Muslims in the world would follow Jesus also. And the Christians in the world understand, okay, Jesus is in the other side. And it makes Zionists alone in the world. And Zionists, then they betray this peace agreement. And then they would be conquered by Imam Mahdi and Jesus together. And have you seen in the Genesis, I've seen this, if you see after when they say Jesus will come back to Jerusalem, you see Jesus with the glory of God. Go search this Jesus with the glory of God in Bible. So Jesus will come back with the glory of God. I believe this glory of God is Hujjatullah. This is Imam Mahdi. They will lead the whole forces that are made of Muslims and Christians. And we have no other way following that what God has set for us as the true leader. Otherwise, you look back to the history of the people. This becomes superpower, start up. People become, he topples another superpower, brutal, and things. This operation, this cycle, unless we hand the government to the chosen people by God. That's what I believe in.
Mm-hmm. So, what about the present situation? You consider that is there a possibility for peace today?
No. I don't, honestly, I don't see the possibility of the peace, because when you make a peace, that peace has to be built based on justice. You can't just say someone's house has been robbed by another person. You should say, okay, make peace, no more fight. I say, I lost my house. Where's my house? If you give back my house, okay, maybe peace. But the person who has been, sorry. Person, my charge is going down actually. So the person whose house has been robbed would never accept the peace unless he gets back his house. And you see the politicians, which kind of politicians we have in this world. And I think the Epstein case shows small pieces of like what is in the mind or personal life of these people. And I don't think there's any peace. Must be based on justice. That's the only thing. And I think that they are so basically, I would say, so confident about the power they have, and they think that, okay, Iran, Venezuela, Denmark, whoever we want, they have to bow to us. Cuba, whoever we want, right? And so any peace that would happen out of this situation is basically humiliation. What is the peace? What is the peace that they want from Iran? Okay, you don't have nuclear activities, no more ballistic missiles, no more don't support the proxies in the world. So what happens if we accept these conditions? We call it peace. The next day we accept this, and they're sure that there's no ballistic missiles that can hit Israel. Israel will attack Iran. Mm-hmm. Is it logical? So if you have no ballistic missiles that attack Israel, Israel will continue the operation against Iran. Then we have to find the Israelis plane and see that hopefully it's not hitting our own house, right? So this is not a peace. So that's why I'm just saying there's no prospect for the real peace at this condition.
Okay. Mr. Bazargan, we would like to thank you very much for your time, telling us what's really going on in Iran. And before we say goodbye, I'd like to hear your message to the Brazilian people.
So I want to say my salam to Brazilian people. I hope that they proceed with their life with the health and success. And in this video that I talked about the situation in the Middle East, which is sort of directly or indirectly affects the life of everyone in the world. And I said what they have created, the image that they have created from Iranian people in the world is badly wrong. And we have to try to make the real image. I don't say good or bad, but just always check the resources, check the news from different sources. Then decide who is telling the truth. But if there's one side has no way to express its opinion, then how would you decide that he's right or not, or she's right or not? So that's the thing, if the media is like covering the whole life of us, and there's no other resources, other stream, we are in a danger to be in the wrong side of the history. So I explained what happened in Iran in the past, in the 12-day war, what happens with the US threats or intention for aggression to Iran. And I just explained in this video that I think that Trump is locked in the situation that Israelis have created for him. And I think he has no other way than attacking Iran, first maybe in the limited way and then expand it. But in any condition, I think that Iran would succeed. And I think that this recent situation has happened in Iran in the protest and thing. The real news of it is not spread. That was a very skillful operation by Mossad and Israelis in Iran, which in this video I explained some of the details. And the fact that what Israelis are looking for religiously, what I call it religious, to me religion is something very respected word, but Israelis are following their like this mythical like understandings, which I would not call it even religion. So then why the situation is like this in the Middle East? And at the end, I was just saying that I know that Brazilian people are true follower of Jesus, and I want them to know also we Muslims are also follower of Jesus, and we will join somehow in the future for following the Jesus together. And that's what a lot of prophecies are telling us, that this situation will happen in the future. And the only successful world would be the world that has been led by the chosen people, the pure people, the infallible people like Jesus. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.